And hello, loves. Welcome back to another review. This one, we are doing The Host, as the title suggests. So, yes, we are in for a ride. Foul language or phrases. I don't think there were, because I didn't mark any, but I don't know. This is an adult. Not adult. This is young adult, so I would assume there might be. So I would be careful with that. Do not take me the source of if there is that here. Magic? No, it is a sci-fi show, and it shows aliens and alien inventions, but no magic. Is it entertaining? Yes, it might be an unpopular opinion, but I quite actually enjoy it. Is there adult humor? There is some spicy scenes and some things hinted at, so you have to watch out for those. But no, I didn't really pick up on any adult humor, but like I said, I didn't mark anything down, so I don't want to say... I want to say no, but I don't want to give it a hard no, because like I said, this is young adult, so maybe there is some that I overlooked. But... to begin with, we start with a narration of a pretty peaceful Earth. No violence, hunger, lies, or any ill towards anyone any longer. Yeah, the only problem with that is we've been taken over by a race of aliens that take others as hosts. It's a big cost for something also seemingly so great. We then meet our MC, Melanie Strider, as she is surrounded by hosts. She fights them off, but when all seems lost, she jumps out the window, rathering to die than be taken over. We find out later that it was out of protection of the one she cares for, sacrificing herself so that they and their plan could keep moving forward and remain hidden. The catch is that her stubborn nature is also what keeps her alive enough to be healed and taken over. We then meet our second MC by the name of Wanderer. She's been to many worlds prior to this one and quite literally is an old soul, as that's what they call themselves. I have to say that they are beautiful creatures. It's kind of sad though. We also are shown these perfect worlds in many movies that are at the cost of humanity. Almost as if we feel as though all that makes up us is tied together so tightly that we could never untangle the foul from the peace, the love from the hate, that to give up one is to give up both. Almost a twisted way to see it when you know that's not true. One day there will be a separation of the good and bad within us, and it won't be at the cost of all that makes us human, just the sin that corrupts the purity we so desperately crave. Back to the movie, we find out that when Wanderer occupied our girl, it wasn't enough to snuff her out. Melanie's consciousness is still alive, and she even can pull her own strings if need be, but not by much, as she is pretty restrained from being able to do so. So it's mostly when enough rage and emotion can be pushed forth for her to actually do something quick enough to take Wanderer off guard. Wanderer has been asked to give up information about Melanie, as Melanie is part of a resistance of humans the hosts are looking for. They haven't been able to conquer all of Earth, but are definitely planning to. They only have one problem with that, is that Earth seems to be the first planet they've come to that is actually resisting them. They are used to harmony with their hosts, but yeah, humans aren't that easy to get along with amongst themselves, let alone an alien species trying to take over their literal bodies. We meet another soul by the name of Seeker. Yeah, they all pretty much have names according to their purpose. She's the one Wanderer is giving information to. She spills about Jamie, Melanie's brother, and yeah, our girl is not having it and begins hating Wanderer even more so than before. Not able to give much more information, we follow into night as Wanderer sleeps, and we see a memory of Melanie's. It's one when she's searching for food and meets a guy who, I may add, full-on assaults the girl. Geez Louise, how about we not kiss, especially on the mouth, anyone we just willy-nilly see is human? Assault is still assault even in the apocalypse. We get another betrayal scene after Wanderer wakes up from the memory and begins to draw our mystery guy, Jared. Melanie makes her first move of trying to stop her drawing by throwing the pencil in her hand, but it's not enough to stop much, as Wanderer already made enough out of Jared to be recognized. So yeah, we got that. She takes it to Seeker the next day, and we get another memory and info dump about the two. We find out that they joined forces and started falling for one another. Wanderer 2 seems to catch feelings because, as she later says, her body is in love with Jared, which is why she too is in love with him. It's hard to have memories of someone like that and not fall for them, even if they're not yours. We find out that they had Seeker on their trail and have to move, which leads us into the beginning scene. Jared was gone for supplies when the Seekers started searching the hotel with Melanie and Jamie. She hit him before pulling the Seekers away, and that's when she jumped. Thankfully, they didn't know exactly who was all there, so Jamie remained untouched. Wanderer isn't able to retrieve much else to tell Seeker, so she leaves again, but not before getting a quick glimpse of a scene that she once again makes out enough to draw. This, though, conflicts her enough to keep it to herself. She wants to trust her people, but is starting to care for Jared and Jamie and doesn't want any threat to come to their safety. We see time move on, but she remains silent about where they're headed, not without at least Seeker pushing for more information. We then find out that her identifying Jared was enough for them to catch a lead and catch sight of him. They hope to find him, and then Melanie pushes through again, but is put to sleep before she can do anything more. She wakes up to apologize, and we find out that they have plans to replant Wanderer into another and let Seeker get the information they need before putting Melanie down. She stays calm, they leave, and then Wanderer's confliction and care are enough for Melanie to talk her into running away. She even talks her through escaping, and our girl jumps out another window. Like, geez, this girl has guts and a thing for jumping through and out windows. Thankfully, though, this one has a pool below, so she's safe. It is enough for a fright to make Wanderer hesitate and Melanie give her a push that she needs, quite literally. So the scream is enough to raise suspicion, and we get a chase scene, but thankfully not much of one to prevent our girlies from getting away. A relatively peaceful one compared to others I have seen. These hosts really are quite peaceful and pretty nice for the invading species. This brings me to a question of how did they actually manage to invade in the first place? We've already seen to begin with that they need someone to actually put them into the bodies, so who or what put them in the first one? I wonder if the books explain that. Maybe I'll read it sometime. The soul-searching Wanderer's room. Seeker comes across the illustration from earlier before we're brought back to our girls while they are on the road and get another sweet moment between Jared and Melanie. It was a trick Melanie did to distract Wanderer enough to begin taking them to her uncle's as originally planned. Wanderer isn't much for it once realizing that's the case, and we get a struggle between the two that leads into a car crash in the middle of the desert. Wanderer's not happy about it, but without many options, she regretfully lets Melanie lead the way once again as she walks through the best options of walking on rocks to prevent tracks. I have to say, I really do like Melanie as a main character. She's not some character you question how she actually remained alive or hidden. You understand by the little details how witty she actually is, what has brought her through so long, because it indeed has been a moment since the souls have invaded Earth. It doesn't say specifically how long, but enough to know that it's probably been a few years. The Seeker is still on the hunt. She is on their trail as she found the rock shown in the illustration that was hidden. We meet back with our girls as they are passed out under a tree, blistered and dehydrated. Her uncle comes up to offer water before realizing Melanie has been taken over. There's a group of others with him that insist on offing her, but he can't. It's his niece and other things that make him wonder if Melanie still is in there. Maybe something he's always been curious of already, but took a familiar face for him to finally give it a chance. He blindfolds her before taking her to his home. He's found a cave that's kept him and so many others safe. Once she sees them all, she notices Jared, and the dude knocks her flat out. The second person to slap her, poor Gold. I get it, but seriously, like, why are so many people so quick to the violence? Again, I get it, but as a pacifist, I'm always quick with the empathy. I can't even harm an insect, but I guess that's what leads to many hurts sometimes, having care when most others don't. Seeker and a few others find the wreck, but with no steps to follow, they don't get anywhere further. Now they have to send a blind search party with no leads to run on. Wanderer is taken to a makeshift shell with Jared on watch. Food and water given. You can really see the care her uncle is trying to give a tough but sweet-centered kind of guy. A group of guys comes to kill Wanderer, but Jared isn't so quick to let them. Is it because he's having the same struggle as much as Jeb, or simply listening to him? I'm not sure. Melanie offers herself up to keep Jared safe before starting to get choked out by a character named Ian. It's Jeb who comes to the rescue and shoves them away, reminding them that they are only here because of his kindness to let them, and that they are just as much of a guest as Wanderer is. So if someone ends up doing something they shouldn't, when push comes to shove, it will be the one ensuing violence to leave, and not her simply because they're afraid of her. The brothers playing lookout now. They spot Soul searching before Jared comes, and we see the other brother, Kyle, still isn't pleased to have been hit by him. Jamie found out where Wanderer is, which leads him and her talking. The boy is so sweet. He is more of a Jeb than the rest, curious and caring still. Jared and Ian walk in on them talking, and Jared's frustrated that Jeb let Jamie interact with her, but Jeb took the loophole of Jamie stumbling upon Wanderer. He is becoming lenient and really is starting to come soft on her, which, to be fair, it's his nephew. So I would think he would have more say than this strange boy that just randomly showed up with his nephew one day. But I mean, I get Jared's trying to care for Jamie because he cared for him and he cared for his sister, was in love with his sister. But at the same time, like I said, it's Jeb's nephew. So if anything comes over top, it would be Jeb because he is more connection. It's not like it was his child, Jared's child or something like that. No, seriously, I think Jeb can handle himself. I think Jeb knows what he's doing, and I think ultimately I get Jared's frustrations, but at the same time, Jeb has veto no matter what. But he's still trying to play it cool, as in trying not to stir up too much water, so I get it. He's trying to be the calm and collective, hey, you didn't say anything about Jamie finding her, but we will let that rest for now. We also see a quick flip of Ian as he now is on the curious side of Wanderer. Apparently, her willing to put herself in harm's way to keep Jared safe was enough to make him question, but not before, he started choking the girl out. Maybe the book explains it better, but I would have to at least have, some hesitation before that, and a struggle after noticing the oddity of her sacrifice. There wasn't much besides his brother giving him a light reminder of hey, you're supposed to be killing her, and he's like, oh yeah. But Jeb takes Wanderer to wash up and gives a slight tour while explaining how he found the place when falling into it through the roof one day, how it soon became their safe haven as it's nearly impossible to find a way in or out. They even found a way to grow crops using mirrors to let the light in. It's a whole civilization hidden, seriously, pretty cool. We get more from Jeb as he spills of his curiosity about Wanderer. Oh, and he gives her a curious nickname, Wanda, so yeah, that's sweet, and we will start calling her by that. Hearing helicopters about, they are quick into action to flip the mirrors to keep from being found out. Seeker gets a quick glimpse of the light from them, but thankfully with one of their mirrored cars nearby, they take it as that instead of more. Wanda back to her cell, or supposed to. Jeb lets Jamie be the one to watch her. He instead takes her to a cave full of stars, but they're not stars as much as glowworms. It's beautiful and his place to go when he misses the sky. He opens up too about wondering if Melanie is still alive. They are conflicted about telling him before Melanie, being the one earlier to tell Wanda not to say anything, is now the one to give hint that she is still alive. Speaking how Melanie promised to come back and has never broken a promise before. Wanda tells him though that he can't tell anyone, but you know how that usually goes. We watch as a group of guys is out to stock up on supplies. They almost get caught before knocking out a soul with a little more extreme than they need to be, but, you know, do the job just the same. They end up taking him with them, something that comes into play later. A little more trust is sent Wanda's way by Jeb as he gets her to start actually helping out. The wheat is ready for harvest. She is to join them. Ian seems to be a little more soft on her girl, giving her eyes that Melanie is not so pleased with. We flash between them harvesting grain and the team getting supplies coming home. Another helicopter, the noise of it shocks Jamie and he cuts himself. It's deep, but nothing too much to worry about as they have a doctor with them. Back to the guys, one of them gets caught for not being at the pace the others are driving at, and when out of ammo and surrounded, they decide to instead drive into a wall to keep from being hosts. Like, extreme, but I mean, I get it. At the same time, I don't know if I would have the guts to do that. Like, seriously, like, zombie apocalypse or any kinds of doom headed my way, I'd rather be off after the doom instead of before the doom. Like, seriously. Jared and his partner watch, and now too getting caught when Seeker notices that they stopped and calls it in. Wanda and the others are eating. They talk as they ask questions about her and her people, and she tells of the other worlds they have inhabited. It's then that we find out more about how the other species are more willing to be accompanied than the humans are. Jared and his partner get caught. Seeker tries to catch them, but kills one of hers instead. Another Seeker takes note of this and calls off the search for the resistance, speaking how they will eventually die out, but her killing one of their own, even if it was by mistake, it's not what they are, how she seems to be fighting a war of her own, and basically tells her that she needs to chill out. The woman is unwinding for sure. If you focus too much on a task and don't care for yourself, obsession can many times be the thing to do you in. Wanda is asked about how old she is, and we find out that she's over 1,000 years old. So yeah, when I said she was an old soul, I meant she was literally an old soul. She speaks how Earth is her favorite planet so far, and it's mid-conversation when Jared comes back and he's livid when seeing how friendly they are being with her. He blames her for the other two dying. He finally wants to kill her, and it's about here before being stopped, and Jamie mentions how Melanie is still alive. He doesn't believe it, but Jeb speaks up about how he does. Ian offers for Wanda to stay in his place to make sure she's safe. This once again irritates Melanie, as she isn't stupid to the growing attractions they have towards each other. A complication for sure. It makes me wonder how it would be to have multiple bodies in your head, or I guess not bodies, but beings. No, I don't think I believe there's more than one soul in someone, so I guess more than oneself. Yeah, that sounds a bit better. I think I've met someone like this before, but I don't know. But basically, to simplify it without going into confusion, I wonder what it would be like to have multiple personalities and the conflict it would have when falling in love like this. I know it's different here. I'm just saying, like, it's something that does affect a few and has to be complicated. Like, how would you go about that? It would seem weird to have multiple partners, so I guess, like, anyone you date, you would have to find someone to accept your full self, or selves in this case. Like, I don't know. It definitely would be complicated, but I'm sure there are ways, and I can't say my love life is any less complicated, so I'm sure God would have the right person for them still. Another flashback of Melanie and Jared. This time it's Jared being the one dreaming of it. It leads him to talk to Wanda. He talks about how even if Jamie and Jeb believe Melanie is still there, he's not sure if he believes it. He wants it to be true, but hates the idea of her being trapped. He kisses Wanda, and yes, it's a trick. He knew if Melanie was still in there, kissing Wanda would push her to act, which she does. She hits him before running off, jealous that he was kissing Wanda. Again, so complicated. And I mean, like, I have watched a review about this, or like someone going over this, and I do have to point out that I agree with the whole, like, I will link her below, Amanda the Jedi, but she goes on about how it doesn't, like, this whole get up doesn't make sense, and I completely agree of how, like, how do you know, like, your assault just doesn't work on her the same way that it did with Melanie, or I guess didn't work on Melanie because girl slapped you too, but I mean, I guess this is girl slapping you, but I mean, still, this was a flawed plan. Like, seriously, like, maybe she just didn't want your attention, especially when you wanted to kill her like 2 seconds ago, or I guess 2 hours ago, or whatever it is, but yeah, not a good plan. Wanda goes to bathe and think before being caught alone by Kyle as he once again tries to kill her, thankfully unsuccessfully. He slips and almost falls into the underground waterfall of sorts before Wanda catches hold of him. I couldn't figure out the exact word for it. It's kind of like a river or something. Like, I know there's like some kind of actual word for what this is, but basically like there's a stream or river like super fast in this place, and if you get caught in it, yeah, you're off and you will be lost forever. Melanie, of course, yells for her to let go, but yeah, she doesn't want him to be offed, and she holds on long enough to be rescued, which, I mean, I probably would find myself in that boat. Like, yeah, you tried to kill me, but I can't go on thinking that I could have saved you, and I didn't. They go to Doc to be checked on, and Jeb questions her about what happened. Everyone is pretty sure what did, but she holds her tongue. Jeb relents after a few pushes, telling her that it's her who will have to live under the roof with someone who tried to kill her, but of course she's too sweet. Maybe not too sweet, as sometimes being kind is what's needed to change someone's heart, and I don't know if that is true with Kyle, but there are no killing attempts after this, so maybe. Jared heads off with one threat towards Ian to keep away from Wanda, as now he's protective of her again. Of course, once he's on a supply run again, the two are off sharing another sweet moment. Or the three, but Melanie is once again arguing against it all, finally stops them from kissing by threatening to hurt Ian if they continue. With Seeker once more, she's yet to give up on the search, again struggling as we actually hear a voice in her head and realize that Melanie isn't the only one with the host unwilling to give up so easily. Back with Wander, she bumps into Jamie and notices his leg isn't healed. He tells how he was told to rest and how things will be fine. The girls realize that there's something suspicious going on, so they snoop before Melanie tries to pull back, but Wanda continues to walk in on bodies of both of their species butchered. They've been trying to find a way to separate soul from host, unsuccessfully, I might add. This makes Wanda break down and get into a depressive episode for like 3 days, even managing to shut Melanie out completely. It's finally Uncle Jeb who comes to talk to her and pulls her out of it, explaining the deal of what they've been trying to do, apologizing and promising to stop. There isn't much point in continuing on if all ends the same, eventually mentioning that how he doesn't feel like Doc himself can take much more of it. It's a job for a doctor to heal, so only being met repeatedly with death, it's no wonder a toll would be taken on him. Melanie's still shut out no matter how hard Wanda tries to bring her back. She's now worried about Jamie as his cut is infected badly and won't last much longer. Wanda checks on him before trying again to wake Melanie, going to Ian first before having to grab Jared, who is finally able to wake her and bites him this time. So yeah. Now with her back, they move on to their next move and get medicine for Jamie. They are forced to get it from the souls, as theirs is the only kind that will help now. Wanda is the one to inflict herself with a couple of wounds and manages to snag some medicine when she tries to head to the healers. She doesn't hit too many problems with them being so trusting of their own. She's in and out, but it's Seeker that they have to worry about as she's on the hunt again. They make it back with hesitation and fear of what it could do to Jamie. Doc finally relents and uses the medicine. Everything is quickly fine again, with him and his recovery only taking like a minute, if that. With Wanda now their new secret, she's become the new way of getting things they need. Supplies are grabbed by her before the boys and her come across one of their lookouts killed and splayed on the road on the way in. They are caught by Seeker at gunpoint when walking out, but Jeb catches her with a hit to the shoulder. He keeps his promise and they don't take her life. Instead, they put her in a cell like they did Wanda. Wanda is left alone to talk to her and realizes that because Seeker came alone, that threats will stop with her. She has an idea, though, that they can use her to show Doc how to properly separate souls from hosts. And she does, on the condition, though, that when he separates her from Melanie, that he lets her rest, finally. She's tired of living in a body that's never her own. They separate Seeker from her host, and that's when Wanda realizes why she has been so keen on finding her, that in a way stopping Wanda would be her way of proving that she wasn't weak. Her fight with Wanda wasn't really her fight with Wanda, but with herself. We also find out that the reason Doc and the others were always so unsuccessful in separating soul from host was because you have to do so with love and kindness, so them always having hate towards the souls was the issue in itself. Sending Seeker off to another planet, we get Wanda's goodbye to the others before she too is separated. Things fade out before she wakes again, confused and regretful of them putting her in another body, but they explain that they only did so because the host never woke up, that the only way to actually keep the body itself from dying was to put her in it, that it was actually now her own body, just hers alone. It gives her relief, and now they begin making a new normal, once again caught and threatened to be taken. Wanda is questioned by a soul if she is a hostage before she boldly speaks of being a part of the group. That's when the soul comes clean that he too is part of the resistance, and the others with him showing to be human. They have been finding other groups, ours being their fourth now. Slowly but surely humans are taking back Earth, a sweet ending and a happy one, my favorite kind. One I hope to have, maybe. Love always seems to do that, making things seeming a little sweeter yet harder, like everything is taken to a filter of making things more sensitive than without. And with that, my loves, is the end of the review, and I appreciate you all staying here through this all, and yes, like and subscribe. I pray blessings upon you all, and bid you adieu. Goodbye.